is the sixth day of the Karen Read trial. Today is a half day in court. Karen Read is accused by the state of intentionally hitting her boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe, with her car and leaving him to die in the snow in front of the home of another police officer. The defense is arguing that this is all a cover-up and that she was framed and that the investigation is hopelessly compromised. Yesterday, at the end of the day, they did a voir dire on Sergeant Lank regarding his relationship with the Albert family. That relationship with the Albert family, the defense believes, will go into his bias in investigating and interviewing people in this case. Remember, all of it has to tie back to this case. And so the fact that he was in a fight 22 years ago with the Lopolitos because of Christopher Albert might go to show that he is biased one way or the other towards the homeowner, Brian Albert, and any investigation towards that homeowner. The incident with investigating the other Albert, Tim Albert, and the hit and run might go to show that there is a connection one way or the other to not only 34 Fairview, but also towards the Albert family. The only reason some of this is allowed to come in is to show bias on the part of Lank. So not everything is going to be proper for that because it has to connect back to 34 Fairview and the Albert family. So some of the things the judge said had to be kept out were specific between the Lopolitos and Lank that didn't involve the Alberts. So the judge was narrowing the scope of what can be discussed. You cannot get into everything anyone has ever done in their entire life, anything they've ever said, anything they've ever written, anything that, not all of it comes in. It has to be connected to this case, and it has to be reasonably connected to this case and not too far back in time. So the judge gave a lot of leeway to get into the relationship between the parties and gave the prosecutor the same leeway to get into whether or not that relationship soured. And it seemed to indicate that perhaps because Lank had prosecuted or investigated and allowed for charges to happen against Timothy Albert, that there was potentially bad blood with him and Brian Albert. So the judge is allowing leeway to the relationship. With regard to police reports are not evidence. And so the police reports were never going to come in. And the police reports in this case aren't going to come in. Police reports are not evidence. The testimony is the evidence. So the police reports from that incident aren't going to come in. And that what the judge had said was it's too late for the reports, and then backtracked and allowed the defense to bring in the dates of the reports because that's what they're trying to show. What the defense is trying to show is that the Lopolitos went to go make a report against the police officers and were turned away. And then law enforcement had time to put their reports in so that by the time the Lopolitos complaint was into the system, that complaint came after the reports went in. So hopefully that helps bring in all the rest of it because that's what the judge is allowing.
I recognize that to be the scene that we were working with the leaf blower.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you, Stephen.
You will laser pointer, basically, very simple. Just press on that button and I don't want to.
Okay, thank you.
Lieutenant Lank, would you think that laser pointer, if you
the decisions here are wild.
What, if anything, of significance you observe in this photograph in relation to what you saw on scene that time?
So
Lolly's not blurring the photos. This is the camera person. So I'll blame the prosecutor for what he's due, but this is not on him. This is the camera trying to zoom in and zoom out on a photo of white snow while the white balance goes nuts. This is a difficult task. It clears up in a bit, but
blood drops here.
Original photos are not very
that
good.
Have been revealed by wiping away the top layer, as well as the glass protruding from the snow.
Sure.
Thanks. Ms. Gilman, you can take that down.
Appears to be a box to secure evidence with a call number on it.
And is that a box that you've seen earlier today?
Yes,
And with reference to what's contained within the box, have you seen that this morning as well?
yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask that the witness be allowed to take
I know-
the box out of the box.
Maybe we give him some gloves. Hey, look at that, y'all. Evidence tape. The court reporter's like,
Sir,
can you?
just for the
Oh, he
record,
does
you
have
have-
gloves.
Some evidence gloves with you in court today, is that correct?
The court
That's
reporter's like, can you not put this on my? She's not. Well, maybe she is. Look at her face. She's like, can you move that away from my face? Yes. Thanks, sir. I would be looking the exact same way. I'm like, I don't know what's in this. Can you not? The gloves are helpful. Yay, gloves. Look at that evidence tape.
Sorry, sir, before you just go into that, just with reference to the bag that you have before you, what if any markings are on that relate to sort of your case, your case number with Camden Police?
So it is there's a case number assigned to us, 22-870F, and there is a property number, 22-18PR, and it's listed as broken drinking glass.
That's foundation. That's
And have
helpful.
you seen the item contained within that bag earlier this morning as well?
Yes,
And what you observed within that bag, is that the piece of the cocktail glass that you observed on the front yard area of 34 Fairview Road on January 29th, 2022?
yes, it is.
How do you know?
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask that the witness be allowed to take it out of the bag and display it to the jury.
I'd like to see. Oh, his suit. I like the color of his suit, but it is going to keep hitting the mic. Well, that's how they know it's a drinking glass. That's much more helpful. It does look like a rocks glass. Can we start singing about shots of whiskey now instead of solo cups? But that's not the way it was preserved when you brought it from the home, is it? Excuse me, is that entire box for that? Is that it? That's it? That's it? That's what's in the whole box? Okay.
Lieutenant Lang, do you recognize what's depicted up on the screen currently?
Yes,
And this is sort of a further out image of that piece of plastic you were talking about, is that correct?
yes.
Using the laser pointer before you, if you could just draw the jury's attention to where in the photograph you observe that.
So this is 6 to 8 feet into the yard on February 4th. That is a close-up.
And sir, do you again recognize what's up on the screen?
Yes, it's a close-up picture of the piece of plastic.
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, you can.
Y'all, that's a fairly substantial chunk. They saw the glass in the snow, the broken glass. That's a fairly substantial size chunk of plastic in the same location where they saw the glass. But when they were leaf blowing, that wasn't there.
For
I just,
the record, you're looking at what's been previously marked as Exhibit 37. You see a little white rag down there by the right rear quarter panel?
Yes,
Let's go to tab.
do you guys see why? Do you see now today why the defense kept asking about the white rag? They're trying to put the bag with the cups in close proximity to the vehicle. And the only way they can do that well is to connect that rag, because in the photos, you don't see the zoomed out photo with the car with the rag. So the defense is taking car to rag, rag to bag, bag to the rest of it. So that's why they're highlighting where that rag
See that white
is.
rag?
yes,
Sorry?
yes.
Okay.
Or
See it?
rag or paper towel or
Bag sitting
whatever.
next to it?
I
And
do.
Doesn't look like an evidence bag, does it?
No, it looks like a Stop and Shop bag.
Stop
But
and
actually, it looks like an evidence bag. It just doesn't say Canton Police on it. It says Stop and Shop, but
it doesn't look like an evidence bag because it's a Stop and Shop bag.
it does look like an evidence bag. It's the same thing.
That's a grocery bag.
It is. And that's exactly what our evidence bags look like. So that's what I thought it was at first.
Right, except it doesn't say anything about evidence on it.
It says Stop and Shop.
Correct?
Correct.
What do you think's in that evidence bag? I'm sorry, Stop and Shop bag.
I know.
I'm not sure.
Let's
You were
find
when
out
these
together.
Pictures were taken?
I could tell that it's the Canton Police Sallyport, so it's some point after the state police had seized the vehicle.
And at some point after you had brought the solo cups back to the station.
Correct.
Matter of fact, these were taken on February 1st when Canton, the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab finally took possession of these items of evidence, correct?
I was not in the police station for those 2 days.
Let's look at the next tab, tab 25. You recognize that?
Oh, boy.
It appears to be solo cups with substance inside.
Are those just any solo cups or the solo cups that you took back to the station from 34 Fairview?
I mean, I couldn't say definitively, but it certainly looks like it.
It
Ooh.
appears that they have red.
Oh, you know what would help you say definitively? I know. So if they had an evidence tag on them with your signature, then we would know definitively if those are the same things that were pulled out of temporary evidence. I know the answer.
Liquid material floating in the bottom,
Yes.
appear to be blood.
He can't say.
The top three I can see. Yeah. The only
Thread.
two I see that don't have it are the bottom two left.
Okay, let's look at the next tab.
That might be
26.
exposure.
And you see somebody with gloved hands opening that bag, same bag, little white rag right there.
Do you see
I do.
how close that rag
That appear to be the same 6 solo cups.
appears to be?
That you just showed me in the previous slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Are those the same 6 solo cups that you gathered at the scene at 34 Fairview and ultimately brought back to Canton PD?
They certainly appear like they are, but I can't say definitively, but they appear to be.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your words. Go ahead. You sure?
They appear to be the same solo cups, but I couldn't say definitively.
Let's go back to tab 24. And the reason you can't say definitively, Lieutenant, is because there is no label on this bag, is there?
I can't see the
Not
other
on that
side
side
of
of
the
it, no.
bag.
There
Right.
is no property number on this bag, is there?
Not on the side that's visible to me, no.
There's no evidence tape on this bag, is there?
Not on the side that's visible to me, no.
Well, let's look at the other photographs.
Is there another side? I
You
would
said-
like to
well,
see the other
before
side. I
we
want
do
to
that,
see the
are
other
you-
side.
Suggesting that all of that material is on the other side of this bag?
I don't know.
Yep.
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you I don't know.
Okay, let's look at the next tab. Looking at it from the top, does it appear anywhere from that vantage point that there's evidence tape that's ever been put on that bag?
Doesn't seem like
That's
there's
ever been secured?
tape.
I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Well, one of the ways that you can tell that evidence tape has been put on an item is because when the evidence tape is placed on it, it's completely sealed. And if in fact that seal is ever broken, it's not torn off, it's cut, and there's initials put on, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
No, why is that
Have you ever
sustained?
used evidence tape
That's how
before
it's supposed to go.
to seal anything?
I'm sure I have. I don't recall off the top of my head.
You don't recall if you've ever used evidence tape before, sir? Are you misunderstanding the question? Didn't you cut and open the evidence tape from the glass that was recovered from the snow this morning? I hope he asks, hey, remember that giant fucking box that the prosecution brought in, and then the box had all this red tape on it, and then the bag had all this red tape on it, and then the red tape was cut? Isn't that your procedure? So Alan's going to have to go back to the beginning and say, what is your procedure for booking in evidence then? Because didn't you book these in? And that one has a bunch of tape on it and this one doesn't. So what is the difference between the two? Have you never used evidence tape before? I am losing what is happening?
How long
Just-
have you been a detective? I'm sorry,
Yep.
how long were you a detective when you were a detective?
What in the
I was
world?
a detective for 11 months as a sergeant, and then I was a detective for 15 months back in
Just go to
2011.
the other bit that he already
And
booked.
In your experience, and how long have you been a police officer?
Just to the other
Over
stuff.
24 years.
So in your 24 years of experience and over a year as a detective, you can't remember if you've ever used evidence sealing tape?
As I said, I'm sure I have. I just can't recall one off the top of my head.
If you can recall using it at all, isn't the protocol that when evidence sealing tape is used to seal an item of evidence, when it's removed, it's not torn off,
Is
it's cut,
That's the picture.
and then new sealing tape is put over it with an initial and a date, correct?
Objection.
Do you know the answer to that?
I don't.
Okay, next question.
Thank you.
You don't know the procedure for preserving evidence in chain of custody, sir? Like what? The jury just watched you open a box covered in red evidence tape, and now you're like, I don't know what the procedure is. Okay, this is alarming.
That's all I have for this.
We got through all of Sergeant Lank's testimony, including the testimony about a 2002 incident that he was involved in. And we got into the beginning of the sergeant that went and did the welfare check at the victim's home and has dash cam video that shows the defendant's car parked in the driveway at about 8:30 that morning. So that's where we're at the end of the day. Interestingly enough, Sergeant Lank was the one who transported the 6 solo cups of biological material, because in evidence, it is not in evidence that they are blood yet. They have not been tested. It's suspected that they are blood. But he talked about the process for evidence tagging those and taping those, but that he doesn't know the procedure for evidence tape and doesn't know the procedure for opening and not opening bags. It was very, very interesting to hear his testimony that he put it into temporary evidence, but temporary evidence is accessible to everyone. And that when Sergeant Lank discussed, I can't call them interviews, when Sergeant Lank had conversations about what happened the night before John O'Keefe was found, that everyone in the house seemed to really be present. When he was talking to Jen McCabe, Brian Albert and his wife were also standing in the kitchen. At another point, when he was talking to Jen McCabe, her husband was present. So he was talking about how really in his conversations with everyone about what happened the night before, other individuals that were there the night before were also standing right there. No one was separated. No one was talked to individually. So I can't really call them interviews, but it's staggering the way this evidence was handled. It doesn't seem from any of the photos that the evidence was tagged or that it was taped and secured. And again, it's in the Sally Port with the defendant's car just open and out there. It's going to be interesting to see where we get tomorrow with the photos of the defendant's vehicle coming from the dash cam at the time of the well check at about 8:30 in the morning. I will see you soon. See you in court for day 7 tomorrow.